Hi, it's Mark Bossert from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with Chuck Prenevost. He's a franchise expert in Canada, in Western Canada. And we're going to talk about the kind of questions you need to be asking your potential franchisor when you're looking at, is franchising a right thing for me? How are you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks very much.
So number three on our list here is what system, or I'm sorry, what's the competitive advantage of this particular company in the marketplace? Why is that an important question?
Well, I guess from the potential purchaser or the potential franchisee, you want to know, you want to ask a lot of questions to the franchisor to get a really solid understanding of how, essentially how they outmaneuver their competition. And that could be in many forms and fashion. But the goal really is to ask what, perhaps you can even start with the size of the marketplace. How big is it? You want to get a grasp of the size of that industry. And generally, franchisors will quote North American numbers. As Canadians, we represent 10% of the American, when you compare to the American population, 33 million versus 330 million. So you can roughly use those same numbers to extrapolate up here in Canada. But, if it's give you an example, the fast food industry is about a $66 billion annually. That's the size of the industry. Okay, so just as a point of reference. So within the industry, you get the sense of how big it is, how many players are in there, who in particular in more local markets are existing. So who are those competitors who are existing? But ultimately you want to get to, as I like to say, it's the secret sauce for the Big Mac. What is that competitive advantage? What makes you stand out more so than, let's say, a lot of the independents or some of the smaller chains that are out there? So it really, understanding the competitive advantage is a huge part of your research. And again, you're not going to get that information in one or two conversations with the franchisor. It's going to take a few discussions, so you really truly understand what their competitive advantage is.
So can you give us some examples of what are competitive advantages that are like real? Not like, to me, branding could be a competitive advantage, but it's not really. There's not that many McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what are real competitive advantages in your experience?
Well, let me give you an example of a franchise that we represent, and without mentioning any names, there is a franchise that is in the home products industry. And what's really unique about this is they want their franchisees to focus on developing relationships with their customers, their target market. And what they've done to help franchisees really launch themselves in a positive, especially right out of the gates when they first start their business, is they have developed a system, a back-end system. So think of it more as a CRM, customer service, relationship management database in a way, but it's a system that allows them to advertise in your local market. They have a call center. When people call that particular number, it actually identifies at their head office where it's coming from. They will do a pre-qualification call for you in your market, and they'll actually book the appointment for you. Okay, so think about that for a second. You don't have to go and do a lot of cold calling because of the competitive advantage and the marketing strategy that this particular franchisor employs. It's leveraging all of that, driving awareness, booking appointments for you. So when you actually go out to the customer, it's already a warm call instead of a cold call.
Sure.
And as a result of that, their closing rate has gone up from something like 20% to over 50%. So there's a very strong competitive advantage.
Awesome. So that's a great example. So what about I guess another really important question, the one that I would actually be asking first. how long is it going to take me to make money in this business?
The money question, back to the break even. How long to break even? And that's really when people, when I discuss money with people, it's how much do I need, how long to break even. So the break even part, again, is discussions with the franchisor to understand what that process looks like. And they always will suggest, I will say strongly suggest, as I do, that you need a certain amount of working capital to ramp your business up. And having enough money to ramp the business up generally is directed into marketing. How do I get customers? Okay, so that's where that working capital generally goes into. So if you have enough working capital, they have from their experience, they can say with a certain amount of certainty, or a large amount of certainty, that if you follow this marketing plan, you will get to break even in X amount of time. Okay, so I always say, I'm a bit of a skeptic, so I say, okay, that's great, I hear you, but how do I know that? Part of what our research process does is it allows you access, after you've had those initial conversations with the franchisor, you actually get to talk to the franchisees, so the existing business owners. And guess what? If they're happy, they're going to tell you all about how great the business is and how long it took them to break even. And you can actually ask some more in-depth financial questions to the franchisees. And conversely, the guys that are struggling, the franchisees that are potentially struggling, they're going to tell you all about how crazy or how bad the system is. So I always bring it back to, is it the system or is it the operator? So during your investigation, that's one question that's always in the back of your mind when you talk to franchisees. A very, maybe more direct answer to your question, Mark, is what we advise our clients at any given time, that you need anywhere from 8 to 12 months of working capital to ramp your business up. You may hear different from the franchisees in the sense, hey, I broke even in 6 months. Well, to me, that's a bonus. But if you got the 8 to 12 months, then at least you're capitalized properly.
Awesome. So those are two really core important questions that you need to have ready to go when you talk to a franchisor about whether franchising is going to be a fit for you. And next week we're going to talk about some more about the questions you need to ask yourself. So thanks a lot, Chuck. You can reach Chuck at 604-849-0278. Give him a call if you're thinking about doing a franchise. Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks very much, Mark.